Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to wyomingpbs.org, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
Native Americans felt they weren't represented in Fremont County government, and the courts agreed. That means a special election. Next on Wyoming Chronicle. We call Wyoming Chronicle a magazine because it has a variety of ingredients. Interviews, stories shot in the field, music, and sometimes we just shut our traps and let the Wyoming landscape speak for themselves. Well, not this week. Dina Mishev found herself with a subject too big to cover in one interview: the courtroom battle in which Arapaho and Shoshone residents of the Wind River Indian Reservation claimed their civil rights were violated by the way Fremont County elects its governing county commission. The plaintiffs went to federal court, represented by Wyoming lawyers and the ACLU, to argue that Fremont County, in which the reservation lies, had a history of blocking Indian participation in county government. The county, with the help of the Mountain States Legal Foundation, fought back hard. But Judge Alan Johnson decided the method of electing county commissioners at large effectively locked out Indian preferred candidates. That decision, which is being appealed, requires a special election. It's a story that's getting national attention. So Dina sat down with one of the current county commissioners, Doug Thompson, and one of the plaintiffs, Gary Collins, a northern Arapaho. Here's the story.
So Doug, this has gotten Fremont County a lot of news throughout the state and the country. What is this case saying about Fremont County?
The case says we have a problem with racism, and at no time did the defense ever deny that there were not people who hold racist views, Indians as well as white. It also says a lot about judicial activism and the judge indicting a whole county as racist when I know they aren't. Our elections are done according to state law. We added nothing to the elections in Fremont County to diminish the participation of any citizen, whether they're Indian or not. And that's really what the case hinged on, was why an Indian candidate could not get elected. And the defense centered on that very question and said that we had not done anything. We explained what it took to get elected in Fremont County, how you campaign, the issues you have to address, and we tried to address the question, not debate the fact whether there's racism in Fremont County. There's racism everywhere. But when the judge said that Fremont County had a shameful record of racism and that it was undeniable, we pretty much knew that case was not going to go well in our favor.
What was the defense that was presented?
Well, like I said, the court, a Section 2 violation, says that the defendants do something that prevents equal participation in the ability to be elected. We didn't. Our election practices are mandated by state law. We as a commission actually don't get actively involved in the election. The county clerk, who was a defendant, is the one that runs an election in a county according to state law. Mm-hmm. And actually the judge cited and the plaintiffs never indicted an at-large voting system. He cites that in his decision.
Now you're currently in your third term as a Fremont County Commissioner. You know a thing or two about getting elected in the county. What have you had to do?
I know that the citizens of Fremont County were diverse and were different. Each part of the county has unique problems, from Du Bois, who feels like they're alienated. Their economic base is different than Shoshone, that has oil and gas. You have to get around. You have to have a track record. People have to know you. There's 36,000 voters out there, and the more people that you can touch and address their issues, the better. Now, the judge seemed to think that if an Indian ran on a platform, I want to represent the reservation, that's 20% of the population. That's noble and a good reason to run, but you can't expect the other 80% to vote for you if you don't address their issues. If I was from Pine Bluffs and wanted to get elected in Laramie County, to the disregard of the needs of the city's Cheyenne citizens, I wouldn't get elected. I'm from Jeffrey City. If I campaigned in Jeffrey City, I wouldn't get elected. But the depositions of the plaintiffs, they handed out cards at the local gas station and talked to their friends. Now, Commissioner Whiteman, she ran a countywide campaign. She had signs out at Jeffrey City. She had town hall meetings in Pavilion and Du Bois and Lander. She got elected. She addressed the people's needs, and she ran a countywide campaign.
Now, what about plaintiffs who, are aware that they need to run in the larger county to win a seat, but because of the history of racism in the county, are uncomfortable going door to door campaigning around the county?
I hate door to door. I don't have the time to do that much. I have to find campaign ways of addressing those needs and getting around. One time I traveled from Lander to Lysite to Shoshone, stayed in Shoshone, went to Du Bois and came back to Riverton. That's, I'm not rich by any means. So it's just what you have to do. If you want to govern a county, you need to know the county. And yes, there are roadblocks to campaigning. Actually, some of the there are Indian people running for commission on the Republican side now. They're becoming more active, and I don't see them being disadvantaged by racism. Issues drive elections in Fremont County. Yes, race is a factor, but it's not the factor.
Now, the Fremont County has decided to appeal the judge's decision on how to remedy the voting rights violation, but not the fact that voting rights was violated in the first place. Was there a time where the defense did consider appealing the judge's original opinion?
We did. We discussed whether to appeal that original decision, and we decided not to do that. Part of the reason is we would go before 3 other federal judges, and the way this case came out and the way it was presented, there were not really overt appealable issues. And we felt that the bottom line says we get to propose a plan to address a remedy, which we did, which was rejected by the courts. So we felt like we could address that Section 2 violation. I don't believe there was a Section 2 violation. The courts determined that. We decided not to appeal that specific decision. But we thought we could get a plan developed and in place that would concede that point, create a majority-minority district where they could be guaranteed the election of a candidate of their choice, and then leave the division of the rest of the county to the citizens, which is according to state law.
And Fremont County, you're insured by the Wyoming Local Government Liability Pool?
We are.
There's been quite a bit in the news lately about the pool wondering what it wants to do with this appeal, if it's going to continue to provide insurance or not.
Yes.
If the pool backs down and decides not to cover the expenses of this appeal, are you guys is Fremont County going to continue with it?
We haven't made that decision yet. I have my own opinion. I believe they'll stand a certain amount of cost, but if it looks like we're going down a road that doesn't have a reasonable chance of prevailing, then we may have to argue a little bit one way or the other.
Okay. And has there been any word on the legal bills from the plaintiff side came in at, I believe it was $880,000
Yes.
that were submitted to the liability pool? Has Fremont County been told if they need to cover any portion of that?
We have not. That's the attorneys and the staff at LGLP is looking into that issue.
Okay. And before the appeal process gets into additional depositions and trial again, mediation is required, and I believe that's scheduled for the middle of October?
It is.
Are you going to participate in that, or is it totally attorneys?
There will probably be defendants involved in that mediation. I don't know how that process will go, and we will probably discuss that tomorrow at our commission meeting.
Okay. Are there any, I mean, at this point, it's pretty much the district lines that the two sides are arguing over. There's the census block inspired ones that the plaintiff submitted, and then the defense has ones that are more traditionally done along municipal lines and school district lines and such like that. Can you see conceding on where can you see the defense conceding, I guess?
I think we want a good hard look at our preferred plan of 2 districts. I don't believe the judge sufficiently backed that up, and that may be an appealable point.
Okay. What have you seen that, I mean, no one's denying that there is a history of racism in Fremont County between the two sides. Have you seen this case? Strides have been made in recent years, though. Progress has been made. What have you seen that this case has done to any of that progress?
I believe that this case is enlarging the racial polarization. There were a lot of people trying to do things, and maybe ineptly, but they were trying to do things to bring the various groups of the county together. This has polarized and pushed any progress clear off the table.
Okay. We're running out of time, but to wrap things up, so what's happening with elections this year? There are 2 commissioner seats, I believe, that are open. 2 or 3? 3 that are going to be open in January. How are they being taken care of?
They will be done according to the plaintiff's line, according to the judge's last decision. They will it'll be a whole separate election process. We will be, the general election will be the 18th of January, so we're going to be 3 weeks with not a quorum on our commission. So Commissioner Christensen and myself will have to kind of be available, and in an emergent situation we may have to make a pronouncement or an action that will have to be reconfirmed when we seat all of our commissioners and get a quorum.
Okay. Doug, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to chat with us.
You're welcome.
You've heard the views of Doug Thompson. Now, Gary Collins.
So Gary, why don't you tell me about the beginnings of this complaint? What was the goal when you set out?
Well, in the beginning, there were the plaintiffs. Most of us had run for county commissioner at one point or another, and we did garner a very fair amount of votes. But we wanted to recognize that the Native American population needed some recognition in government beyond our tribal government. Although recognizing tribal government is very important, we were just looking forward to leveling the playing field, if you will. So it was an individual effort early on, and collectively 5 years ago we got together and moved forward in forming the basis for a lawsuit.
And now, since the verdict came out, the judge's opinion came out in April, and the defense has appealed part of the remedy, the case has gotten national attention. Is this something that you guys sought out? Do you think it's doing anything to help or hinder?
Well, frankly, we were looking primarily locally because we knew from the reservation perspective that many millions of dollars would go to the state coffers and not come back to the reservation based on our oil and gas production. So we didn't recognize that there would be a national attention issue. However, as time moved forward, we recognized voting was so significant. And then, of course, when the judge made his opinion, it was clear that we were looking at something bigger than just Fremont County.
Now, you said each of the plaintiffs had run for county commission at one time. Why don't you tell me a little bit about when you ran in the 1980s? What was your campaign strategy like?
Well, I had been elected for the tribal business council, and I felt like I had done a fairly good job and was looking forward to expand my abilities to be assertive with tribal issues with state government and upwards even into county and state government. So I did run. I didn't have a large campaign, and it was somewhat daunting, but I did get most of my votes from the reservation and a few scattered other places. But I didn't have a significant campaign, but I wanted to certainly make an issue that there are Native Americans who could run for office.
So were you looking to run to get elected or more to raise awareness?
I didn't know at the beginning. I ran to be elected, but then recognizing as time moved forward, probably awareness was the best shot that I had. And so I was okay with that, but still again, we just weren't being represented.
Okay. And the voting system that Fremont County had that the judges declared was against the Voting Rights Act was at-large commissioners for the entire county. So meaning for someone to get elected, it was the entire county that needed to vote them in. And when you only campaigned on the reservation, was there a point that you thought you had a chance for getting the larger county vote?
Well, there was a thought that I had of getting certainly the substantial rural communities with regards to my position as being a farmer and a rancher, and of course a natural resource specialist. So I felt there was a base there that I was hoping to seek that would solidify my position in terms of being a good manager of the resources in this area. And that didn't quite resonate strongly with everybody, and there might have been some issues that I wasn't aware of that didn't provide for me to have a strong voting base.
Okay. And are you aware the other plaintiffs that were a part of this complaint? Do you know what their campaigns were?
Well, I don't. Again, I think it was, from my view, Native American representation. When the plaintiffs all got together in this lawsuit, we didn't really have an initial strategy. It was just like we'd all ran for office, and we wanted to at least share our thoughts as to why we weren't elected, and recognize that an at-large system was detrimental to our efforts in terms of becoming elected.
Okay. And what was it that kept you from running in a larger campaign?
Well, initially it was finances, but I think just probably public awareness. I didn't really get out to everybody in a total campaign effort. But I was satisfied with what I did and what I ran to bring in awareness. So recognizing also that there's been certain animosities towards the reservation through time with regards to the native population having its own government, doing different things, surrounded by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So we were somewhat disenfranchised, so to speak, based on the trust property, trust land, and the affairs of the government.
And was it that disenfranchisement that made you a little leery of campaigning more broadly?
Well, I wasn't afraid to campaign. It was a financial consideration at first, and so I knew that if I ran, that I would probably not have a real strong campaign. But I think what I did, I went to several meetings, let people know what my thoughts were, and it was still local in terms of the reservation support, but not the other parts of the county.
In 2006, after this complaint was filed, and this complaint was filed in 2005, Keija Whiteman was elected to the county commission, the first ever Native American on the county commission in the history of it. What do you think that her getting elected had anything to do with this case?
I don't think so. Keija is a very bright woman. She campaigned throughout the county, and she is married to an Arapaho man, but she's Native American from another tribe. So the connection between her background and as a Native American and the Arapaho Shoshone people wasn't identified as a local, in my mind, Indian person. But taking nothing away from her, she ran an excellent campaign. She's educated, she knows a lot, and I think that's exemplified by her history having been on the county commission. So I don't think the lawsuit had really any effect on her election. She would have probably won a seat even without the lawsuit.
Okay. When the plaintiffs, when this complaint was coming together, how much did you seek the input from other voters in the tribe? Was it mostly the five plaintiffs acting by themselves, or was this something that the tribe wanted to be done?
Well, we, as far as I know, didn't really go to the tribes for their support. It was a community effort, just the grassroots, different discussions. You'd be at different events, people would raise the issue about inequities with the county's direction with regards to supporting of Native American communities and the roads and those kind of things. So I think that was initially why we all put our hat into the ring individually, not all at once, and so that as time moved forward, the population would support what we were doing, but it wasn't a canvas. We didn't go out to every home or to have big public relations meetings or public information. So we didn't talk to everybody, but we also didn't hear any negative responses either.
Right. And now that the opinion has come down, I mean, are the people on the reservation uniformly happy about it? What are the feelings?
Well, it's a mixed thought. Some people are supportive and say it's about time something was done. Others say, why does tribal government have to be under what would be called state government or county government? We're actually a sovereign, and it's federal government, tribal government, state government, and local government. So there are some issues about sovereignty, and I recognize that. However, in my view, is we haven't diminished sovereignty. We are actually creating more of an opportunity to substantiate sovereignty for the tribes. So there's been some real issues, pro and con, quite frankly, and I've been asked why I didn't put my name in for the county commission. Well, that wasn't my goal. My goal was to create opportunities for others and let them decide. And we'll see how the vote goes.
And the District 1, the new district that was created for the reservation, is one of the ones that the seat is coming up for election. How many people have expressed interest in running for this?
I think there's about 4. I think there's 4. Kaja, the incumbent, and then there's some folks, one gentleman from Crowheart, Pete Calhoun, Kim Lambert's another from Fort Warski, and Clinton Glick, and there's another Native American running, but not in the Indian district, Jolene Catron.
And what do you see this opinion doing for the tribe?
Well, I think it's going to raise the awareness of the tribe as to being more governmental, being more involved with the government than they have been in terms of leadership roles. I know that we've had some studies done indicating that the funds that leave the reservation don't always come back, and the county commission does have some leeway in how those funds are expended when they receive them back from the state. So there's really an opportunity for the tribes to step up and be more active and be as sovereign as they want to be. And so that's going to, I think, be a format that we'll see moving forward.
Okay. And wrapping things up, before the appeal happens, part of it is that the two sides have to go to mediation. And what's being appealed is not the opinion of the case, it's the remedy, it's the voting districts. And the county is proposing the Indian district as well as the 4, then keeping the rest of the county at large. In the mediation, do you see anything working out there, or do you see this another trial stretching on for
I just
years?
see the trial stretching on. The position that we took as individual districts was pretty much solidified by the judge's opinion, and that at large, in any part of the discussion, hasn't been something the plaintiffs are looking forward to. So we oppose the at-large opportunity, if you will, and to make it the districts. Every other entity in the county has districts and precincts, so we feel it's no different for proper representation.
Okay. Gary, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The special election for several seats on the Fremont County Commission is scheduled for November 16th. And we'll repeat what we say before every election. If you're eligible to vote, do so. In Wyoming and in Fremont County, every vote counts. The relationship between Indians and non-Indians in Fremont County has a long history. If you're interested in knowing more, we'll be putting up some resources on our website. Go to wyomingpbs.org and click on the Chronicle link. You'll find more information there than we've got room for on the air, and you can rerun this and other shows on the web. Come see us there, and come see us here every week on Wyoming Chronicle.